Welcome back to the Union, episode 15. Every time I give out the episode number, I kind of surprise myself because it sort of kind of blows me away that we're still doing this. 15th episode, and a special one at that, just like every other one. Everyone is special. But today, got an old friend on that I haven't seen. The first time I've seen him in well over a year now, and it's virtually. But we got Parry Blanke on down in Southern Ontario, up and around the Bruce Peninsula. And you know what? Again, awesome. Another great show coming on. Philly, what's going on? I missed that.
We're recording live from the great metropolis of Omimi.
Omimi, the
for
hometown.
Those who don't know,
yeah.
The hometown of Neil Young.
There you go. Long may you run, buddy.
I know that now.
So, you know what? Again, so I just wanted to touch on this fact that, you know, we're at episode 15. It seems like there's every week there's more and more traction. Every week our guest is getting better. We are really putting it out there that we are exactly as advertised, just blue collar, a bunch of friends that love hanging out with one another, tormenting, talking bullshit, having a few drinks, having some tea, whatever it is, and just hanging out and doing our thing. And today we got Parry on with us, and you know what? With some of the guests that we've had, and we've had industry, I call them industry celebrities that we've had on, and Parry isn't really no different when it comes to what I would consider a very good voice for the waterfowling community, especially here in Ontario. So, Parry, thanks so much for coming on, buddy. It really is awesome to have you on, and I can't thank you enough for agreeing to come on when I asked you. And I know you've been watching the podcast because Parry is one of the ones that have wrote me and give some suggestions, so I really appreciate it. But Parry, thanks so much for coming on, buddy. I really do mean it.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, it's so awesome to be a part of this. I'm excited to see the future episodes come up. So thanks for having me.
Oh, it's only going to get bigger and better from here, buddy. Like at some point, there's going to be strobe lights and all kinds of shit going on. It's going to be wicked. Phil's going to learn how to dance. Wicked. Parry, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I will. And this is recorded, and I don't edit anything, so as it's recorded is the way it goes. But what are your thoughts so far of the Union and what we're doing here? Sorry, not sorry.
You can say it's a shit show. It's okay.
Whatever.
Yeah.
No, it's good. I think it's something that's a long time due. It's someone does this for the I guess the Ontario and Eastern Canadian waterfowlers, right? We're definitely a large community, and I think we're starting to be, taken seriously on a scale across the board. We're not just another Canadian. We're starting to be recognized as world-class waterfowlers, I guess.
Yeah, and I think and it goes to a conversation I had with Mark and Ryan earlier today, and it seems like there's more and more, and I think what it is the younger generation now, even though we think that our younger generation isn't as strong as we'd like it to be when it comes to the amount of waterfowlers that are out there at a young age. But when you look around now and you see all of the social media pages of all of these young men and women, and especially the women are exploding right now. You know, it seems like here, especially here in Ontario, it seems like it is exploding, and we are being somewhat looked at as, oh shit, yeah, okay, there is a pretty good strong community of waterfowlers in Ontario right now. And I think that's going to have a trickle down effect. Quebec has always had a strong community, I think, but they've always stayed true to themselves, and they've been a very tight knit group. But then when you get in now, you're looking at New Brunswick, and you're seeing that group of maritime goose hunters in New Brunswick that are coming up and getting a lot of attention. And then where Ryan is down in southern Nova Scotia, always a big waterfowling community down there. But now again, Ryan, like that, just with social media, it seems like there's more fellas that are on social media and talking about hunting, whereas, you know, 10 years ago, I don't think that was the case, or not
Yeah.
that I seen it anyways.
No, just growing up around here, it wasn't like I had a handful of friends who would waterfowl, like, or at least hunt, not so much waterfowl hunt, but yeah, through social media, you kind of realize that the maritime provinces are how small they are and how many actual waterfowlers there are when you look at the guys in New Brunswick and PEI and all that, and even guys in Newfoundland, Cape Breton, that area. So it's a small community, but it's growing, especially on the East Coast, and it's good to see because I mean it's more support, it's more hopefully more dollars in the programs like DU and Delta, which I know we're going to talk about. So it's all good.
You know, and we bring up, and that's a good way to bring this in, and I really didn't even think about talking about this on this show, but over the last couple of weeks with the COVID-19 pandemic going on, and the majority of the big waterfowling outfitters being out west, and you're starting to see some of these big outfitting outfitters are they're starting to put out their Canadian prices, right? And remarkable deals for anybody that's ever looked into going out west and hunting birds. And when you see the prices of some of these hunts that are being advertised, it's like, holy shit, this is what a time to get out west and hunt. But it still seems that the average Canadian hunter is still like, man, that's an awful lot. That's a ripoff. Like that's too much money. No one's going to pay that kind of money. And again, it seems as though we're tearing one another down again. And it's one thing to disagree with a price, but when you go to the lengths of calling a business a ripoff and you know, saying the shit that people are saying about some of these businesses, it doesn't look well on us. And I know everybody works hard for their money and no one wants to spend any more than what they have to. But again, we're not doing ourselves any favors by taking out. And Phil, we've had this discussion when it comes to, especially Ontario, like here in Ontario, like as an outfitter yourself, like how many people call you up and say, hey, how much for a weekend hunt, and you give a price and they're like, oh, well, I don't really want to pay that much money.
I think like at least like the services that I offer, like it's you can't compare, obviously, and we've discussed this you know, a number of episodes ago. You can't compare Ontario to Manitoba, Saskatchewan.
No, absolutely
Alberta,
not.
And a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people even realize like the cost and the time that goes into waterfowling. Like, yeah, I can grab a canoe and go paddle around out in a pond and maybe shoot something. But these guys, like, and I can't speak for, you know, the out west scene, but I got a bit of a clue. Like, these guys log thousands of miles, burn thousands of dollars in fuel. Their equipment's getting beat to shit every day because it's getting hunted hard. a lot of guys are running 2 hunts a day. They do a morning shoot and afternoon shoot, and like you have equipment failures. You're constantly replacing things. You know, just some guys, they get into like the leases where like you got to rent a field, and some guys they're renting multiple fields, and then if you're running an operation, well, now you've got vehicles to pay for, you've got insurance to pay for, you've got lodging to pay for, you've got like 5, 6, 7 guides to pay for. Like these things add up. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
like any Tom, Dick, and Harry can go pond shooting for a couple bucks, a box of shells and a Cooey or an 870, and do it on the cheap. But so these guys are logging thousands of man hours, and when you go out there and hunt, like especially out west, like you're smashing limits every time, day in day out. That's because these guys put in the time and the effort to line these things up.
Ryan, and you can speak to this, Ryan, being out with Claudio and his, and that's an entirely different beast altogether, because Claudio is that outfitter out west. How much pressure is it on you as the guide to ensure that these hunters that are paying big bucks, that they're going to have the hunt of their lifetime?
It's the end all be all. I mean, these guys are paying substantial money. First of all, 95% of the clients come from the US because you can't experience what you get up north of the border, what you get down south. I mean, some states you can, but that early on in the season to get a jump start, most seasons in the US aren't even open. And then to offer what, the Mecca, what is Saskatchewan or Alberta, what it offers is just, it's unparalleled to anything. So, I mean, there's nothing quite like it. So yeah, the pressure is obviously there, and that's why there's 4, 5, 6 scouts in camp, guides in camp, right? So one guide's hunting and the other 4 or 5 are out scouting, because like Phil said, like you might put the guys on a snow goose hunt in the morning, and that's fine and dandy. They may shoot 200 snows. That's phenomenal. Good for you. Well, they can still shoot ducks in the evening, so we're going to put them on the duck hunt. So you always got to have options. Even with the camp I'm in, we had 4 guides, and it was expected for us to produce at a minimum like 3 hunts on average. So when I come back to camp at the end of the night and we're reviewing what everybody has, it's important. It's imperative that I have options, because you got to stay flexible. The game changes fast. So
Absolutely. Parry, I want to switch gears a little bit here and just talk about something. And I brought it up to you before, and me and the boys have talked about it. I don't think we've talked about it on the episode yet, but I think with having you on it, it really could add some really good light to it. Over the past, I would say, 3-4 months, in my opinion, there's been a line drawn in the sand by some people, and that line is either you're a Delta guy or you're a DU guy. There's no in between. It's either you support hunters or you support conservation, and it makes me upset, because I'd like to think people are not so narrow-minded as to look at things that way and can see the benefits that both organizations bring to waterfowl hunting. And the fact that you sit on the committee for a local DU chapter and a local Delta chapter. You were once the DU Volunteer of the Year. You do an amazing amount of volunteer work within your community and helping with future generations of hunters. You are, in my opinion, you're on the front line of this whole debate. Do you have any words of wisdom, anything that you could say to any of the listeners out there that are teetering, or if they are that one-sided, and understand the benefits of both organizations?
Yeah, for sure. I apologize for the background noise here. I'm just at the office. Yeah, I guess I don't quite get it myself, because I guess my passion's always been conservation. That's always been my first, my utmost passion, right? I grew up in the outdoors. I've always been told to respect the outdoors, the environment, and really it's something that affects us all, whether we hunt or not. So I guess that's my stance coming into it. And then the other part of it is I hunt. I love waterfowling. That's it's a close second in my passions, but I guess that's how I can kind of define the differences between the two, and how I can kind of respect the values of each. DU from the beginning has always been a conservation organization. They've never claimed to be anything but. They obviously use hunters as a great tool to fundraise, and again, it's our duty to kind of give back to these organizations to help for what we take as hunters. So yeah, like again, DU, something that's always had a mission statement that conservation is there, and that's their important number one thing. And then stepping over to Delta, who's as they claim, a duck hunters organization. They give us a voice outside of just conservation. So you can kind of take the two and kind of divide them. You know, they both stand for us, but you know, they have the two different avenues. And I think that's the main thing, is people just don't understand the core values of these two. Mm-hmm. And they're speaking on emotion. It's a tense time for everybody right now. It's easy to get caught up with emotion, but just like everything else, just sit back, take in the facts, and just see the good that both organizations provide for us. Because I think we can all agree we benefit tremendously from both. And again, I sit on as actually chair of the Headwaters chapter, Delta Waterfowl, and over the years I've been a committee member for DU. And again, it's something I think every hunter has to do. They have to give back. So it's kind of how I sit.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the most popular, but yeah, I morally I feel it's.
Yeah, and I think and it's a good point that you brought on, that it's our, you know, responsibility to give back, but I also feel that it's our responsibility to try and educate as much as we can, right? Because we are in an age where and it's just because of, and I'll use the word laziness just because I can't think of another word, but it's laziness because we look to places like Facebook and social media to give us our information instead of us doing the research on our own. Anybody can just go on, make a post, and Jesus, my computer is just binging crazy here. And but you know, so I think we have a responsibility, and when I say we, that's anybody that knows the difference. We have a responsibility to spread the word. Billy Duggan, a longtime waterfowler, big-time waterfowler down east, now living out west, said to me one time, and he's a fundraising manager for DU, and he told me one time, he was like, DU protects the wetlands that Delta puts the hunters in. And that was the way he explained it to me. And that was the way he always said it, and that was the way I always remember it. And that's the best way to look at it. It's got nothing to do with well, we're not going to support you. It has nothing to do with we're not going to support you. It, like you said, their mission statement. They've got to stick true to their mission statement. And Delta does what Delta does, which is awesome work and in predator management and making sure that hunters are still out into the blind. And I think we have just as much a responsibility to spread that word and to make sure that everybody understands exactly what each organization, what their goal is to achieve. That's just me.
Absolutely.
Boys.
And looking at DU as well, I'm just backtracking here a little bit, but DU doesn't only represent hunters. I think people have to remember that too. They represent both hunters and non-hunters who have a common ground of conservation. So
Yep.
just to add to it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I would argue that the amount of money that's brought in by hunters with DU is not as much as what's brought in by conservation fundraising. I would say
Yeah.
that the hunters is second in fundraising with DU. So, but either way, I digress.
Parry, you mentioned that one of the reasons you got in is because involved with DU is because you were a hunter and specifically a waterfowler. What got you into that, like waterfowling? What was that first like aha moment? I think I'm gonna spend the rest of my life and income on this passion and hobby. I love hearing that kind of story from everybody who's a waterfowler.
I don't remember one moment particular. Almost you can almost call it an addiction. You started it once, and that was kind of neat. And you did it again, and next thing you know, you're right into it. Like,
Yeah,
it's your life.
you're selling your kidney on the black market to buy decoys. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the part of it, I guess. But it's I wouldn't say there's one moment that I definitely figured that was it. I'm in. But
yeah. Is there a person or an individual who got you into it, or?
I'd say no one in particular. It'd probably be just a group of friends. And to be honest, what really brought me into it is just meeting new people and hunting with different people in different locations, and it kind of created a community. And I'd say that drew me in more than anything when it came to the waterfowl hunting. It's crazy how big of a community there really is in Ontario, and I'd say that was probably one of the biggest, I don't know, addicting factors to the waterfowling is the social aspect of it. So I'd say pretty well anybody I've ever spent blind time with has definitely been a factor of my passion. So
Yeah, sure enough.
That's a pretty interesting thing. Sorry, Dave. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, I was just going to say it's pretty crazy. Like, I live pretty close to Parry, and through DU and through Delta, I've met a lot of people that it's like, holy shit, I didn't even realize you hunted, let alone we're now a member coming out and helping out with Delta and stuff. So it's kind of neat in that aspect. And the very first thing that Parry said when we met was that he was big on Delta and conservation. So it's kind of neat that how conservation brings people together.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can think actually one of my best hunting buddies now, Jesse Hutton. Some of you might know. We met through DU, and like, here we are training pretty well every weekend with our dogs. Yeah, it's crazy where the friendships will lead you in this community for sure.
Yeah, and when you touched on that point, and you said that it's a community, and that drawn you in, and we've talked about it before, where Canada, Ontario specifically, because we talk mostly around Ontario, but the waterfowling community really isn't that large in numbers compared to south of the border, right? We are a very, very small community, and sometimes we get lost in the rhetoric when people talk about it, because we're such small in numbers, and it puts us at a disadvantage sometimes, especially when it comes to the sale of waterfowl equipment and stuff like that. But now, if you take that and you put that to the side and think about, before we hit record this evening on this episode, I had asked everybody. Well, Phil, you knew Parry, and Dave, you've met before. You guys actually met at a Punisher waterfowl camp, one of the very first ones that I had done. So you guys had met at, but Ryan and Mark had never met Parry. And when I had said, "Hey, do you guys know Parry?" Well, no, not personally, but I know him from social media, and that says a lot about this waterfowling community. We may be at a disadvantage when it comes to the large numbers compared to but you don't even need to hunt with people in Ontario, and it's always the same people that's on social media. It's the same people that's commenting. It's the same people that's selling gear. It's the same people that's looking for advice. And personally, I think it's amazing. Hey, listen, I'd be the first one to say, I wish I could sell a million things and have a huge market here in Canada. But the fact that, you know what, like, we all know most of the players right now in our area. And that's because our community is as small as what it is. And it makes it a little bit more personal, in my opinion, anyways. There's a lot of head nodding there. Parry, I know what. So this is somewhat of a touchy subject around here, and I've had very limited experience, but it is somewhat of a touchy subject around here. And I know you and Jesse are huge fans of the skinnies. You love those silhouettes.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
You guys
don't need anything else.
And you guys have an amazing amount of success. I see your numbers of birds that you guys constantly kill tons of birds over your silhouette decoys. And you know, why give up on the full bodies? Why go to the skinnies? Give us the Parry Blanke version of, hey, listen, this is why I do what I do. And this is how I make it work.
Shout out to Real Geese, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead and plug them.
Yeah. That's what I use. I guess the biggest thing that's holding people back is they're trying to justify the amount of money they've spent on their decoys and decoy rigs, and you don't need it all, right? I was a bit of a skeptic myself. I used to run the trailer with a ton of full bodies, thousands upon thousands of dollars into it. And I hunted with Ryan Campbell up his way one time. And,
another big fan of silhouettes.
Yeah, and at first I couldn't believe it, and then I started thinking, like, why am I dragging this thing around? Farmers hate seeing you driving in the fields. How many times do you hear of a farmer complaining about someone getting a tow out because the trailer got stuck in a wet field, right? So, it makes sense to me. We've had tremendous success with them. A lot of it is my stubbornness and my competitiveness. Is that I was told by a few people I'm crazy, and might be true, but I wanted to prove to them that you can kill just as many, if not more, over skinnies. And I think we're doing that.
So what's your, because you will hear fellas say, well, they didn't work for me. I put them out. They didn't like them. They were too shiny, or they're too flat, flat in color. I mean, all the excuses are out there. Like, what's your recipe?
Recipe, I'd say the biggest thing is confidence in your spread. It sounds a little corny, but you have to have full confidence in what you're using, right? I think the biggest problem is no one's ready to fully commit to a silo hunt, right? it's just one of those things. It's a hard pill for people to swallow, and I was one of them. Um, but I'd say that the biggest thing is confidence in your spread. Um, with full body decoys, there's days where they aren't going to do the trick for educated birds, right? You got to scout, you got to find the birds, you got to be where they want to be, and you got to mimic. And throw those skinnies out. They work awesome.
What are your thoughts on skinny turkey decoys? I see Real Geese brought those out now.
Yeah, so again, I wasn't too sure on them. This year I ran them for the first time, and I got a Jake. It would have been my first time out with him. I wasn't out there for more than 10 minutes. And he came out field edge. Wasn't even paying attention to me, so they work pretty well for them. So
I really want to hear Mark's rebuttal to all this. I'm like, I'm vibrating in my chair, like.
As a host, I've been doing a fair amount of reading about hosting shows and trying to educate myself and make this a better show. And part of the things that I'm reading is like pick controversial subjects and try and have your guests just infight, and that will create a good show. And that's what I'm trying to do here, but Mark's not taking the fucking bait, and I'm a bit disappointed.
He's writing notes down. I see it. This is like a debate.
Philly,
I think what I said was
Philly, do you run any skinnies at all, Philly?
That's all I run, man. I got 10 dozen.
Oh, really?
Just like Parry, I've been fortunate to go out and hunt with Ryan Campbell. I had Ryan come out my way a couple years ago, and we did a late season, like February goose hunt. It was Ryan Campbell, his good buddy who I know as well, Gary Glanville, and myself, field that I lined up. And so, of course, 10 bird limit right per guy. And we smashed 30 geese by 9:30 in the morning over just skinnies. That's it, just silhouettes.
So, and the only thing I'll ask you here, Phil, is that early? So 10 bird per person. So that's early season, right?
Late season.
Oh, okay, late season.
Like we were February, March.
Oh, the really late season.
Oh, okay. The conservation. What is that? Like the conservation hunt?
Spring conservation hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we ran straight silhouettes, and I don't run a trailer, and just obviously for sheer space saving, like I got bit by the bug, and I run 10 dozen silhouettes. That's it. And then I got 2 dozen. I got 2 dozen sleeper shells for late season, just to add the sleepers in. And that's all I run, man. And like you guys have seen the pictures, you see the numbers. Like we put a beating on them out in my area. Like they work. Like there's times where if they don't straight commit, like straight to the kill hole from where they're coming from, they start doing the loser laps and they start passing. It's like, well, all of a sudden, if they get straight over top the decoys, well, the whole spread disappears, right? Well, usually at that point they're within range, so you should be lacing them up, but I'd say 95% of the time they suck to the kill hole and it's lights out.
Awesome.
You're running 10 frees now? Are you running those tangle free skinnies now?
I got 7 dozen of the skinnies, and then I got 3 dozen dive bombs that I started with. So 10 dozen in total.
How do those skinnies look from tangle free? I haven't seen them yet.
Oh, but they're an amazing looking decoy, and I'd say one of the biggest things I can't speak enough about is the handle on the back.
Yeah, I did like that.
Like for walking around and picking them up,
Mm-hmm.
you grab the handle and you can grab a dozen in one hand, and just grab them and then go.
Yeah,
it's so easy for pickup.
Now, for people who are doubting the skinnies, go on YouTube after you're done watching this episode of The Union and look up like silhouettes from the sky, and you can see like people use those drones and they show you what a goose's view would look like, and it's pretty crazy to see like how neat they look from the sky of these silhouette decoys. I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you can definitely see especially if you're running like 10 dozen or so. There's definitely a volume that you can see there that really attracts the birds. Yeah, I guess I committed, I want to say 3 seasons ago, and to full silhouette setups, and I'm running them early season straight through to late season, and again in I guess the late spring or whatever, and they work the whole time. Uh, I myself, I like running stuff that works, that I don't have to replace, and that's, I don't know, I really like the real geese. My favorites are the Maglite 3Ds and the Pro Series 2s. They're nice, durable, thick plastic, not this chloroplast stuff. Um, the chloroplast will work, but I'm using decoys that are 15, years old plus, and still killing birds over them. Yeah, so
I don't think
yeah,
I've went on hunts with silhouettes put in with full bodies as like a filler, but I've never done a straight silhouette hunt. And something I would really like to do. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Yeah, no,
we'll have to have you out.
Gotcha.
yeah, no, and I really would, because I'd like I'd like to know when it comes to, when you say things like confidence in your spread, are you doing anything different? I'm just thinking about, and this is just me and the way I think, but when I'm putting out full bodies, regardless of which, I know the birds should come from a direction, and when they come from that direction, well, they can see the full bodies, but do you have the face, your silhouette, so the side of them are always, do you know what I mean? Like, is the side of the silhouette always facing where you think the birds are going to come from? Or are there some birds that are, skinny and just looking straight on to where the birds are coming from? That's what I can't get wrapped around my head, because we could say that they're just birds, but they know when shit isn't right, and that's what throws me for a loop with the skinnies.
They can pick something up if something's off, for sure. But going back to what you said, what do you do different than a guy with full bodies? And that's just it. I wouldn't do anything different. I'd set them up the same style. I like the J hook or the check mark, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Run it the exact same way. I would just say your wind's always at your back when you're setting up with geese.
Yeah.
So, those geese are always going to be coming locked up into that wind. So I always just 45 to the wind is probably the easiest. So just remember where that wind's coming, set up that way.
Okay.
And they're going to see it 45 from pretty well every direction. They're going to see it.
Yeah, like to echo what Parry said, like, and I'm the same way. Like, go get your traditional, your hook, your C, your horseshoe, whatever you want, and I'll put, like, say 2/3 of my spread basically perpendicular to where the birds are going to come from, and then I'll mix in a bunch in different directions. So if those birds are coming in and they're not coming in on that straight, on a string, if they're kind of moving a little bit, those decoys that are off in different directions, it screws with the goose's depth perception. And as they're coming in and they're kind of doing the little lazy swoop on the way in, those decoys in the different directions, basically it creates the illusion of moving birds as they're flying and looking at them. Because if a decoy is like this 1 second and they move a little bit, now it's like this, it looks like that bird's walking and feeding, and they eat it up. And Parry will agree.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they mimic motion as they're coming in. They work awesome.
And the one big thing that I learned from Parry 2 years ago was, and then I last year had to tell 2 different groups of guys that were hunting silhouettes. It's normally the silhouettes aren't the issue. Look at how you grassed in your blind. And both times I hunted last year that the silhouettes weren't working, I looked over at the guy that I was hunting with, and you could see like a full row where he didn't put any grass in or something. And both times I thought to myself, Perry's telling me you guys are fucking idiots. Perry's telling me something here, right? Like, so now I now make it a habit to check this. I check other people's blinds now, just like Perry did that first time him and I hunted.
That's why we bring Mark Vitch along.
Yeah,
He does the same thing.
I used to
the
think
ghillie
it was
master.
right?
Hey, Ryan,
Yeah.
you remember that hunt when we took Brian Robar out that time, and the birds were coming, and it didn't matter that I was standing out picking up birds.
Yeah.
They were 100 yards away, and they still came with me running around in decoys.
Yeah.
And that happened until we had our limit. Like, we were done in no time.
Yeah. Actually, funny. Mark is like a cam Nazi, like in every sense. I haven't, which I love. Like, there's no, I've hunted with hundreds of people, hundreds of clients. I've yet to come across an equal yet. It doesn't exist.
No.
Like, if there's people out there who think you will do a challenge in the fall, if you think you're up to that, you're not at his level. And that same hunt that he's talking about, I remember we were up picking geese. Mark did such a good job at mentoring Brian to get his blind to Mark's standard that after we picked up geese and there was more birds coming in, Brian couldn't find his blind. I mean, that is the benchmark of benchmarks right there.
Well, Brian's a pilot too, so
he is a pilot. He's used to somebody like telling him where it is.
Yeah.
Like, sir, you need lighted runways, and
that's right. And
He's
there's like
definitely watching this one.
and there's a mint put down somewhere for him to fucking so he can smell his way to it. But yeah, no, and that
the main reason. Sorry, Damien, to cut you off. The main reason I was talking about that one was those birds wanted in there. That was where they wanted to be. I don't think it mattered what we had in the field. Obviously, our cam helped, but it didn't matter what we had in the field because I was out running around with the birds 100 yards away, watching me run around, and I'd get in, and they still just come in on a hook, come around and land. And that happens every time.
Oh, sorry, Ryan, but that goes back to, like, Ryan, you've brought it up. I know, Perry, I've heard you say it, and it comes with confidence in your spread, but it comes with confidence, and Phil, you've said it too, it comes with confidence in your scouting, right? So the play on what Mark said, listen, if they want to go in, you can fucking put whatever you want out there. They're going to come in on it, right? So, yeah, 100%. If they want in there and you do your scouting properly, then I guess skinnies or full bodies, it doesn't matter because they're going to come in anyways. And I don't really mean it that way, but they're going to land, right? You're going to be able to shoot birds regardless on if it's a skinny or if it's a fucking full body because they want in there anyways.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, you do your homework, you can paint basketballs black and throw them in the field. It'll do the same job. I mean, or you can use like a high quality silhouette, like a DNA decoy, because I got to plug the Boss's brand. So, so yeah. So, you do your homework,
nice plug. Nice
plug.
That's
a good segue. Yeah. You do your homework, you're killing.
Hashtag DOA decoys.
DNA.
Oh, DNA.
Yeah.
Sorry. Wow. Sorry. Hey, DOA, you get a free plug there. I'm not editing it out, so. Wow.
Just to further like what you said about scouting, I guess this brings back a memory like 12, 15 years ago. I was duck hunting with a good buddy of mine, Nick Sparks, and hunting one of his fields, cut bean field. It was wet though, like there was some puddles of water and stuff. And for whatever reason, we were like a half hour behind the 8-ball. We're still setting decoys out, and it's legal light. And we're running around like two chickens with their heads cut off, trying to get decoys set up. And there was mallards piling into the water like 10 yards. Give so zero fucks, and like we're scrambling. I'm like, fuck the decoys, grab your gun, and like literally we're standing in the middle of the spread. No, like the layouts are laying there, but we're standing in the middle of the spread, and mallards are piling into the water on our toes, and to just sheer scouting, and we're smashing ducks standing in the middle of the field.
That is the epitome of awesomeness in my mind. I still come back to our. Yeah, go, Philly.
I say, if you want awesomeness, I had the pleasure of doing a flooded timber hunt on opening day last year, and holy fuck.
I seen the
Let me
pictures.
tell you.
I was gonna say
Like-
I was gonna save that for a private message to Parry, but go ahead and.
I will never forget that hunt as long as I live. Like, I shit you not. We're standing there, and I think Parry can attest, I think we were probably 5-10 minutes behind the 8 ball. But, like,
Yeah.
I'm literally standing there with a loaded gun staring into the sky because ducks are, like, almost, like, flying into me as I stand there. And it's just like, you can't shoot. Like, what do? You've never
Mhm.
experienced this. Like, talk about, jaw down, cock in your hand. You don't know up from left. And, like, that's the
Oh,
next level.
Yeah, it's just takes your breath away, and to just sit there and watch it happen. I felt a little bad we didn't shoot as many ducks that day, but
Oh,
like the blue wing that landed at like, what, 3 feet from you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
well, I think there was at least 2 ducks that almost, like, I shit you not, hit me trying to
Yeah.
rip through the flooded timber to land.
So
And,
did you
like, yeah, they were 5 feet in front of you, staring at you.
did you shoot it, or did you just reach out and break its neck? Holy shit!
Just kick
That's
the water
crazy.
and let it go.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
We went out
it's
out west a couple of years ago, Ryan, and I remember I put my gun down one morning, and Phil, just what you were saying to take it all in. I put my gun down one morning and just wanted to watch the birds. Like, we're sitting down on flatboards in Tyvek suits, and mallards are coming in and almost hitting me in the face. You know what I mean? And it's just I never done it in flooded timber, which is a dream. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But yeah, no, I know what you mean, and to be able to just listen. I'm the first person to say that I want to shoot birds, but there's sometimes the experience just totally outweighs any birds that you're gonna. And I'm not talking about sunsets. I don't give a or sunrises. I don't give a fuck about pictures about sunrises. But when it comes to birds just almost hitting you in the face because they want to get down to where you are, that is an experience that you cannot duplicate.
Yeah, it definitely. It's one of those things, and like you said, we were a little bit on the 8 ball on that one, Phil, and we missed some good shooting, but little things like that just definitely etch something in your head. I can think of. I was just one real quick one was over at Lake Manitoba, just trekking through like crap on the shoreline, and just thinking, not too many people got to experience that. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, 100%. Parry, I know that you and I both got a puppy around about the same time. It's pretty cool because you got one of Phil's and Jordan Stone's puppies. How's dog training going for you? I seen you had a post yesterday, so some early season success, I believe.
Yeah. So I picked the pup up I guess beginning of last July from Jordan's place down there in Sheepwater Kennels, and we've been training lots pretty well every day since I got him, man. Nothing real crazy pushing him hard or anything, but it's been an experience. There's definitely days you want to pull your hair out, and days where you're proud. But I introduced him this past week to Pigeon. And, he's really getting it now. I've had a lot of good support. My buddy Jesse and his dad, they've helped me. They've coached me along. But he's been an awesome dog. Very coachable. Any fault in him is one of my own. So
Brown dog, eh?
Yeah, big brown dog.
Big brown dog.
Looks after his father.
And
He's always
Ryan,
happy to see you.
yeah, Ryan, buddy, congratulations! Only another 6 weeks, and you'll have a black female joining your household, and the training begin, and the training will start for you. You've trained dogs before, but now you get onto another new dog now, and that got to be some pretty exciting times for you now that you can start that process. And with your son being at the age now that he can, probably start throwing a few bumpers for you, hopefully. And
yeah, I'm gonna put him to work. I don't know who's more excited, myself or my wife. She just wants a puppy in the house, but I have to do all the work, so
yeah,
I guess that's why she's more excited. But yeah, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool this time around because my last lab, Nate, was born. She was already 3 or 4 years old, so we brought him home as a baby, and the dogs were just pieces of furniture to him. They weren't anything.
Yeah.
So now that he's 4 years old, they're gonna develop a relationship, and so that's gonna be pretty cool and exciting to watch that. And yeah, I can't wait to start training again from the and a buddy of mine always said, you're always going to make mistakes on your first dog. And so, you take those lessons, you learn, and I'm looking forward to applying what I did wrong from the first time. And so, yeah, it's going to a whole new adventure, man. Can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. If anything that I've learned when it comes to training is, I think you just got to be consistent and repetition and keep it fun. And, I got Lander, the minute that I raise, if I raise my voice to that dog, completely shut down. It's just well to pack up and go home. She just completely shuts down as soon as there's any aggression in my voice whatsoever. So, yeah, repetition, and I'd love for you to be able to pick Bill Kennedy's brain, because I think Bill spent more time training me than he has training Lander. So that's for sure. Boys, let's go around the table here for any last thoughts. We'll start with you, Ryan. Anything, buddy?
Yeah, thanks for coming out, Parry. I was in Ontario for 7 years and I met lots of people. Unfortunately, I didn't get to we didn't get to hunt together or anything, but if you're ever out east, man, and you want to change the pace on a hunt, get in touch with me, man. I'll hook you up.
I appreciate that. I definitely want to do that someday.
Mark?
Good meeting you and talking to you, Parry. I won't hold the whole silo thing against you.
He's just waiting.
You seem to do quite well with him.
He's got a brown dog, so he can't be that bad, right?
Silos and a brown dog. Oh.
Sucker for punishment.
Yeah. Oh, no, it was good having you on, and yeah, I'm sure I'm still in Ontario for the foreseeable future, so I'm sure through Damien and the boys and whatnot, we're going to cross paths, or even if we just find a way to cross paths anyway. So I'm looking forward to that.
For sure. Thanks for having me, man. Yeah.
Philly?
Definitely hook up at some point.
It's good seeing you again, Parry. Just remember, let's see you make beards great again. I want to see that luscious lock off your chin.
I know.
Yeah, my wife keeps telling me I need to get one. So.
Hey, free bottle of Cranky Mallard if you fucking grow that thing out to what it was 2 years ago.
Fucking ZZ Top.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
It was like fucking.
Oh yeah,
here.
it was wicked.
Majestic.
Oh, it was.
It was almost
Like,
as big as my boat.
I was like, who is I'd see them on social media, but like, who is the Amish guy in Office?
It was glorious.
Oh
And the
my
fact
God.
that Becca wants you to grow it back it just should tell you just how awesome it was.
God bless her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a good woman. She puts up with a lot. Me and mine,
Dave?
yeah.
Parry, thanks for coming on again. You know what? One thing we didn't touch on is those new black and whites. You want to explain to people how those work and whether they're worth getting?
Yeah, so you're talking about the Real Geese, the Shadow Series black and whites. We got an upgraded stake, I guess, this year. And in black and whites, I got a bunch myself. And I'd say the most I use them for would be getting the bird's attention. I generally, if I use them around the outskirts, kind of away from where they're landing, and have the Pro 2s, the mag lights, with something with color up to where they're going to be close and in range, right? So yeah, that's what I'd say about them.
Yeah.
They're a good product. You definitely add a lot to your spread for a decent price.
Thanks, buddy. I just wanted to make sure people heard that.
Yep.
Awesome, Parry. Well, thanks, buddy, for coming on. You know how much, you know what I think of you. We've chatted lots, and I truly do believe that you are a voice of reason when it comes to the waterfowl community here in Ontario, and I really do appreciate you coming on. And I think we really only scratched the surface on some pretty good waterfowl hunting topics, and would love to invite you to come back on once the season kicks off, and maybe we all got a few more stories and a few more laughs that we can have. So I really would love to extend the invitation for you to come back on. And you know what? Maybe even do an episode of the union up your way with as many of us as possible, except I guess all of us except Ryan, unless Ryan wants to make the trip up from Nova Scotia. But I would love to get together with you, do another hunt. Haven't hunted with you in a couple years now. But again, buddy, thank you so much for coming on. It really means the world to me personally, and I know the boys all enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on again. We definitely need to hook up and shoot some geese together.
Yeah, buddy, absolutely.
That's what this is all about. It's a social sport, right? Otherwise, we'd be sitting in the stand and wait for a damn deer. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. Everybody, thank you so much for watching another episode of the Union 0430. We are as advertised, just regular people, just talking about hunting and surrounding ourselves with good people. Please like, subscribe, follow, download, comment, suggest, whatever it is that you can do to make sure that this show keeps going. There's going to be an episode 16, 17, 18, and an episode 100. And that's all going to depend on you guys, and you guys helping us out and giving us the suggestions, and all these awesome guests coming forward and hanging out with us for an hour. Everybody, thank you so much. Be good, be careful, big love. Until next time.